Hello, A&P students. Hey, welcome back. Hey, thanks for connecting, for opening this up and connecting with us in this manner as we continue our educational journey. Got a pretty cool topic today because it lends, as you can see, a little bit of genetics and talk, which when we did chapter 4, when we talked about genetics and different things like that. We talked about, the different genes and stuff, and a little bit of that when we're talking about hair, when we're talking about texture and color and stuff, and similar to skin color, the different levels, different gradients of the materials that generate the hair color lead into that. So I always like talking to me some genetics, but today's about hair. This is part 3, of the integumentary system, the system of the skin and the accessory organs and stuff. Part 3, and finally the conclusion of this, which would be chapter 6. So here it is, September 26th. It says down there in the corner. So a few weeks until you'll see this. The present time we were in chapter 4, and everything. And so it'll be a few more weeks till you watch this. But we'll get there. Time you get to this, I think that's kind of the halfway point to everything. I know I got an email late this week that sometime next week you do the evaluations, and that's kind of the halfway point. So we're getting there. Time our week ends next week will be in October, and so there you go. It's getting there. Then you got that 7-week push to Thanksgiving break. And once we get to there, just another week or two, and then we will be done. So, hey, great to connect with you. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys for being a part of this. And such a fun group. I was going to say something else. Oh, my shirt. Although it's kind of washed out, so it looks, from what I can see, it looks more orange. But you guys are getting to see my red shirt. You guys don't ever get to see the red shirt. It's my Tuesday shirt. Not that this particular shirt is my Tuesday shirt, but red. In my structured, not OCD. I'm not OCD, but I am a structure, or my wife would say rut. Fanatic. I plan everything out. It's way too much, it seems. And so Tuesday's red day. So the shoes, shirt, and all that kind of stuff point towards the red. So you guys don't get to see that. So here you go. It's your chance to see that. And but again, like I said, it's kind of washed out, so it looks more orange than anything. But it is red. But hey, let's get started. Let's get this done so we can move on to other things. And so we got everything. We got the glass of water, as we always have here, and got our pages of notes, 1.5 pages. So that I don't know if there's a relationship between time and length of notes, but we'll find out. And of course, the water is always sitting on a nice cheap coaster there. So hey, let's get started, and let's talk some hair. So we're going to start by, let me get a little box here. Lots of things to kind of tell you. Well, that's new. Look at that. I guess so. Microsoft Whiteboard's been doing some work, and I'd never seen it before, but there you go. Got a new little feature there. Wonder if I can consider that a new, a pretty cool teacher strategy style there. I don't think I can take credit for that, but anyway. So first of all, let's talk about. Let me just put the words hair right here. It's going to have to be a lot bigger. No, that doesn't make it bigger doing that. So I guess I'll have to make it bigger once I'm done here. So, as always, little outlined format, which is a strong teacher move, I'll tell you that. Made of keratinized cells. Okay, that ain't gonna work. There we go. That's better right there. So, and we've talked about these quite a bit in connective tissue and things like that. These are cells that are typically dead, And these are cells that are a little thicker, a little stronger than your traditional body cell. That keratin, that's the same thing. It makes up just cells that have that thick, tough outer edge to them. Not, I guess, somewhat similar to what chitin is for insects. That's the hard outside shell of like a beetle or something like that. It's kind of our version of that. And we got two kinds. Okay, we've got the soft keratinized cell, and that's where you find that's on the skin. No, not an L. Skin, and that's in that corneum. Let me back up and do this properly. The stratum, that's the abbreviation for stratum. Corneum section. That's that layer that was part of the layer of the water barrier and stuff like that. And then you've got the thicker, more compact, and that's what hair. Where am I at? Yeah, hair, and of course, if we were talking about it, nails as well. Be a more compacted version of that. Let's see, we know hair is almost everywhere. Oh, not that one. There we go. Almost everywhere. And let's see, let's give some facts here. Like, for example, on limbs and the trunk, we're talking, let's see, 50 to 70 per centimeter. And I'll move that out here so that stays on the same line. And I'm going to close this out because it won't. I don't want to type it the way it would type it. Just put the 2 there. So if I just put a little 2 right there, now that will look more official. If I had just typed it, it'd just put the 2 right beside the M, and that's not the way it should look. So we'll close that back out. I can't tell if I like that or not. I guess it highlights where I'm at. But anyway, doesn't matter if I like it or not. Much like it's kind of my wife's stance as well. All right, and on the face, 10 times as many, even to the point to where, like on a man's beard area, 30,000 hair follicles. Okay, so let me stretch this back out again so it's all on the same line. There we go. And let's see, and on the head, which you would assume would be a lot more, and you would be correct about that. Well done by you. 100,000, and I'm just going to put HF, but HF would stand for hair follicle, just like over here. So that's some background information on hair. Let's close this out, and then we'll start a new one. Types of hair. I'm going to come over here. Eventually, we're going to fill this area in, so be prepared for that. And then we will point to some things over here once we get to mentioning those words. Let me move this up a little bit here. Oh, you know what? Let me move this down and let's see if I can make this. Yeah, let's make this bigger. There we go. Oh, can I move this? No. So let's do this then. Let's get the eraser out and knock that out, and then get that blue back again. And we'll put that 2 right back here where it belongs. There we go. And then close this out, and now open my box up back up again. Bring it over here. That's some pretty strong teacher moves right there. We're moving boxes. We're adjusting exponents. We are enlarging text boxes. I mean, that's a lot of good teacher skill set right there. Okay, so now we're talking types. And we're not referring to red and blonde and brown. We'll get to those. Those are hair colors. These are types, meaning it's more about the development of hair in different time spans. Essentially, it's there's hair that develops as a fetus. There's hair that develops after birth, and then more of an adult version of hair. And so we're talking that. So let's identify those. And again, if you want to wait, just like this earlier box, if you want to wait till I'm done, then I'll enlarge it to where it's easier to see. But if you want to, and then you can actually just pause the video and write everything down. But if you want to type it or write it as I'm typing, that's certainly your prerogative, as Janet Jackson once said. All right, first type, lingo. Let's see, I'll just go straight out here. I've trying to decide if I wanted to. There's not much other than just the definitional kind of stuff. So we'll just go straight out here. But this is the fine, downy hair, okay, on a fetus. So obviously during that development time before birth, and it's usually in the last trimester. I'll put that on there just to make it official. Is that? I'm trying to think. Is it? Well then. Okay, sorry. I couldn't decide how I wanted to say that. I wanted to say last trimester, but then I got to thinking, is that hyphenated? So I'm just going to put last 3 months. And that's how we'll get around that. Okay, second type. So yeah, that was a fun time there. That was not a strong teacher move. Okay, so vellus. This is fine, pale hair that develops at birth. It develops at birth, and now a little outline format here. This is 2/3 of the hair on women, this type of hair, and this is 1/10 of the hair on men, and not to leave any age group out, but it is half of the hair on children. Nope, not children. There we go. And let me go back up here. Get a little space in here. And in here, I'll go down a little bit. And then we got terminal. And this is the kind of adult version of hair. Longer, coarser, heavily pigmented, hair. And then my outline point, this is like the eyebrows, eyelashes, and the hair on the scalp, and pubic hair. So essentially everywhere but arms and trunk. Oh, wait a minute. I guess I'm not done here. And then, of course, the male facial hair. And then trunk and limbs. Yep, that's my list. So essentially, ends up being almost everywhere. I can't imagine. Let's see, hair, eyebrows, eyelashes. So maybe what they're leaving out is for women, trunk and limbs. Yeah, that's probably the group that isn't included in that group. All right, so let me close this out, and then when I open it back up, I get a chance to the option of making it bigger. And just because we got to have it that way, let's slide it over here where it's in line. Okay, so that's the types of hair. Okay, so now let's go. There's our box up here. And in this section, which is structure, now we're going to start talking about, we'll include some of the things on the picture. I'm going to go way up here. So, structure of hair. Three zones. And we'll just talk about them real quick before we start typing them. So we're going to be using the, I'll point to the bottom picture, but we'll also point to the top picture as well. So let me close this out. The three things, I'm going to describe them first, get all the thoughts out, and then we'll type it so you can officially see it. But let's think color today. What do we want to use today? Nothing's jumping out, but since we did put a focus on red, let's yeah, that's about right. So we'll erase that line, and then come back to it. There we go. All right. So we're going to talk about the three things. First, we're going to talk about the three zones. The bulb, root, and the shaft. So when we're talking bulb, we're talking about this section down in here, and of course it's this part up here. But that's kind of that basement attachment, as you can see. This will also give us a chance to review. So in this skin cross section here, here is the epidermis. And of course, this is the dermis, and then of course, the hypodermis down here. So the bulb here, as I circled here, that's that attachment point to the dermis, and even to the point to where, to something we're going to talk about later, the dermal papilla, that's where it provides the resources and nutrients needed. But that's the bulb, and of course, we've got the root, which is kind of this everything in here. Basically, the root is what's inside of the surface of the skin, inside the cross section of the skin, and then the shaft is what's outside. And of course, you don't see any on that picture. So, but let's close this, click on this, edit, of course, and highlight, or actually write down the things that we just talked about. So the bulb, that's the attachment point. To dermis. And it can be, I'm going to put a slash here because there are some hair that reach down into the hypodermis. It's just not shown in our particular. Oh, that ain't right. There we go. Went to the wrong finger there to get an R instead of an O. The hypodermis. And of course, then we talk about the root. That's the portion in the follicle, or in the tube, as you might want to say. And of course, the shaft is outside. Now let's go a different direction. above the skin surface. There we go. That works right there. And then I'm going to go down here, space 2. There's 2 more things. I'm just going to put the word support. But there are a couple things, and I mentioned one already. But the dermal, make sure I spelled this right. AP. This provides the nutrients. I'm going to put needed. I'm just going to put needed resources because it's more than just, it's a lot of things. So, you know, whatever it might need as far as resources to stay healthy and to be vibrant. So whether it's any kind of an element, molecule, ion, whatever it might need, it comes through that dermal papilla, which is right down here. You can see just a direct connection to the skin, so anything can just diffuse in. Of course, you got all these cells here. Of course, this would be cells as well, tissue, but just kind of works its way in and then up into the hair root area. One other thing that it provides, it's called the hair matrix. And anytime you see the word matrix in a biological setting, that just simply means an area. So cellular matrix, hair matrix, that just means an area. And this is an area of mitosis active cells. Okay, and I'm going to put, this is the growth center. So whenever the cell needs to, so let's slide this over just a little bit and extend that out so it stays on the same line. There we go. Again, a strong teacher move right there, skill set move. So it's that growth center. So as the cells, as the hair needs more cells, these are cells that are involved in mitosis. So we did that in chapter 4. So we go through the whole mitosis stage. The prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, cytokinesis, all that stuff that we actually just last Wednesday we had a lab over all that stuff, and so it should be fresh on your mind still. I would hope so. And let's see, that's all of that. Alright, so we will close that out and start another one, which we're going to work in this area right here. And if I need more room, if it gets too long out here, I'll just have to move that over. But you've already written all that by now, hopefully. But we certainly don't want to ever cover the picture right here. I know that's one of the main reasons why you're here is to see that. No, that would not be the reason anybody would show up to see these. So now I get my box back over since I messed around and lost it. Get it right up against the edge there. There we go. Strong teacher move. Lining things up with edges. I like it. And let's see. Now we're talking. We'll call this 3 layers, and it's based on a cross section. So much like what you see right here, we've simply taken now this would be a cross section to where you could just look into the hair follicle. Down here is a cross section of the actual hair strand itself. In other words, the hair strand has been cut in half from the top to the bottom so we can see inside. And there's 3 things that we are going to talk about, but only 2 of them are listed, but we will reference the 3rd, and that's these 2 right here. And then we're going to add the word cuticle. I bet you missed this. You haven't seen this in a while since I've been typing. The old kindergarten penmanship there. So close that and bring this back up. Edit, of course. Now, so the 3 things. The medulla, area of loosely arranged cells, and this is the that matrix area as well. So you've got all these cells, and again, they're mitosis active, so they're dividing, providing more cells as the hair needs to grow. And that's the area where these cells are at, would be this inside area. We're going to go from the inside to the out, as you can see, but this inside area, that's where the cells will be dividing, allowing for growth, the hair to get longer. Okay, and of course, as time goes by, when they break off or they fall out, then it replaces, over time. That's why I got to shave each week. So I'll shave it, but then in the hair matrix area and the medulla portion of the shaft, I'm essentially just shaving it off at the surface of the skin, so the hair goes right back to work, going through mitosis and providing that growth. As again, it'd be the same kind of a thing with trees, plants. I mow the grass each week. Sometimes twice a week it seems like. But the reason why it grows back is because it's got an area of active mitosis cells, and so it generates more, which creates that length again, allows it to grow back out. It's the same kind of process. The next area, the cortex, this is when we get into now, it's the start of the layers of the keratinized cells. So now we're the cells, just like when we talked about the epidermis and how the cells at the bottom are alive and active as they work their way up through the layers, working their way to the surface. Cell death occurs, and they just end up being dead. Same thing with the keratinized cells, as they start in the matrix area, the medulla, and they work their way outward in this case. And so in the cortex, we start these layers of keratinized cells, and then of course the cuticle, just like you can imagine, that's completely, no, that's not the way I want to do it. This is multiple layers, and I'm going to put of KC, but the KC refers to keratinized cells, just to save space and time. Typing that out, keratinized cells is what the KC stands for. Okay, let's go down here a couple spaces. Again, a couple of accessory things that help with these areas, or will help with the hair follicle. We're going to do hair receptors. And just like you would think, the word receptor, these are nerve fibers. And I'm going to point to it once I'm done here. Nerve fibers that respond to stimulus. Respond to stimulus. So let's close this out. Let's take this picture over. Oh, that's mine. Well, that's what I tried to do earlier with the two, and I wasn't able to grab it. So maybe I wasn't right on it. So we'll slide it over just a little bit there. All right. So we're talking nerve receptors. Yeah, hair receptors. It shows it here and here. It's just the idea of being nerve fibers. So if something happens and there's a stimulus that is exerted on the hair, these receptors would sense that, send a message, through the nervous system. And depending on if it was a reflex or not, maybe it goes all the way to the brain for a decision to be made, but maybe it just stops at the spine, and the reflex is triggered, and then back out to the message, but somehow, some pathway through that. But that's the hair receptors. So let's go back and edit this. because we got one more, and it's the pileorector muscle. Did I do that right? Yeah. This is the muscle that controls the movement of the hair follicle, of the hair shaft. So when it stands up, lays down, goosebumps, response to cold, that kind of stuff. And but this is smooth muscle, and smooth muscle. Hopefully by now we've gotten this under control. That smooth muscle is muscle that you do not control. Okay, they are involuntary, just like your heart, just like other things that you don't want to control. You don't want to have to think, okay, I'm cold, hair, stand up, please. No, you don't want to do that. So luckily we've got a system, smooth muscle, that takes care of it all by itself. And we got some collagen / connective tissue, and I'm going to do that, but that's supposed to be connective. So make sure you write it properly in your notes so you understand. And I already mentioned controls the movement of the hair. So that's the idea of what you see in that cross section. And we didn't identify the. So here's your muscle here, this shaft right here. Let's get a little pin here. There's the muscle right here, leading into the standing up or the laying down of the hair. All right. Hey, looking at our notes, we're at least 3/4 the way through, and I forgot to reference the time to know how we're doing on time, but that's not the important factor. So now let's close this out because we want to move down to this beautiful picture right here that I spent a lot of time on. No, I just copied and pasted that in there. I did not draw that. But let's go a little bit bigger so you can see some of these words here. I don't need a lot of typing space. More pointing towards. Let's move it. Get that other reference out of there. Let's bring it over because it's underneath those icons there. All right, there we go. Now, what you're going to see here is when we talk about hair texture and color, we're going to be a lot of concerned about the shape, the overall shape. You can see that, okay, with blonde hair, a very round, okay, with brown hair or black, okay, very round. I shouldn't say, with straight hair, okay, very round, and with blonde hair, these little dots in here, you can see there's a whole bunch of them in black or brown, but in blonde there is a lot less, okay, but what you do have is more of, I don't know if you can kind of see them, but they're like soft pink, okay, that's the pale melon. This is the eumelanin. Eumelanin is a better way of saying it. But I'll type it all out there. And then, of course, in red hair, you've got more of the eumelanin and a lot of the piomelanin, which generates that reddish look. And then the interesting thing about gray or white hair is you don't have any of either one of them. So the essence of white hair is the fact that there's a lack of any coloring pigmentation in the cell. And you can also see the airspace in here is very large. Here's the airspace here, here's the airspace there, here's the airspace in there. Very, very small. You'll also notice that in straight hair, we're round, okay? But in very curly hair, okay, it flattens out, okay? Now, the one thing you can't see here is the curly. So the curly, wavy, this is curly, although they do have the word wavy. So we'll go wavy, flat, and it's the curly is the intermediate stage, and it's more of an oval. So it's kind of somewhere in between these two, but we'll type it all up over here. But I wanted just to say it all first, give you some background, so when I type it, you'll have an idea of what we got going on here. So let's get us a little box up here, and we'll move that up here. And so we'll do texture first, but you can see that these things kind of work in tandem. So for texture, straight hair, okay, is round, and that's highlighted right here. We've got straight hair, and so we're round. Okay, so then yeah. And the one that they don't have on here is the oval, so more egg-shaped, somewhere in between these two. That'll get your wavy hair. And of course, if it's see, this is where I mix myself up. This, I keep thinking, when I look at this, I see curly, but I know it's not curly. It's more the wavy. That's where it's messing me up, is my understanding of what's curly and wavy. But when we're curly, so curly is the one that they don't have. That's really flat. Okay, so we are considering this to be more oval. I was thinking that in my mind I had this as flat, but when it's super curly, then it's even flatter. So the flat is the one that we're not seeing. So round, straight hair. When it's wavy, okay, like this, it's more oval. Except what was confusing me, or not confusing, I don't consider this oval, but that's all right. That's my. I should say, as I always say, it's me, not you. And then so if it's curly, it must really be flat, almost to the point to where, let's get this, that it'd be, I'm assuming it would look, something more like even thinner on the sides and in there. So it would have been nice to have a example of that as well. But curly, flat. So if you've got super curly hair, your hair structure or pattern is really flat. So we'll edit that, and now we'll go color. So when we are brown and black, so dark colors, we have lots melanin, and that's these little brown dots in here. Okay, that's these little brown dots generating that. Okay, and when we're blonde, okay, little and let me just make sure. Yeah, and then some make sure I smell this right. Yeah, melanin, and that's what leads us to the red hair. But that's these dots in here, these lighter dots, and then of course when we're red, and you can just see here by the description, lots of okay, and so So the pheomelanin leads to the red, and then how much euomelanin that you'd have gives it the the darkness of the red. So if someone has really dark, like I consider this really dark red hair, they're going to have lots. They're going to have more of these. And if someone has much lighter red hair, then they're going to have less of these. And then of course, as we mentioned, gray, less white, which I have way too much of. A lack of either. Not that. We're not doing slang talk here. Lack of either, meaning as you can see in here, there's none of either one of these in there. And of course, we talked about the large airspace. And so the white isn't a color on itself, or isn't a genetic trait. Okay, it isn't an allele. It is a lack of any of the pigmentation. And I think that is all of that. So our next section, and I'm going to go way over here since I'm past my image there. And now we're talking function. And of course, function of hair, I mean, it's not really a lot of function. I mean, it's a big industry between hair coloring and shampoos and conditioners and all the other things that people use on their hair to make it soft or stronger or thicker or whatever. And even in the fields of hair growth and loss, all that stuff. So as far as function of hair, I mean, there isn't a tremendous amount. Matter of fact, most hair is vestigial. And if you think, when you think the word vestigial, you should be thinking of, that's a reference that we hear about the appendix. It's a vestigial organ, and that simply means no function. But, in thinking about hair, we've come up with some functions, but they're not really function. When you think about the rest of the body, when you think like proteins, or when you think heart, or when you think other things that our body has, when we say function, they're super important. Hair doesn't really provide any real function. And if you think about us as humans, not necessarily mammals in general, but as humans, the hair on our arms, and chest, if you have that, the idea of it providing warmth, no, not so much. I mean, it's not thick enough. I mean, when you think about Avery Mar Lab, I mean, that's, dog hair, that's some thick hair, or hair on a cat, that's some thick hair that would provide warmth. As a matter of fact, in Avery's world, there's too much warmth going on, even in the cold, being inside. She needs to find a floor tile to help cool off and stuff, or can even be panting. But yeah, our hair is not a lot of warmth there. But we do have some things. But again, it's just things that we've kind of thought of and like, yeah, that's kind of a function, but it's not an important one. Like, for example, the book had a gender identification, and I'm not even real sure we can say that anymore. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. So I guess the idea there would be that in males it's thicker, or maybe more places more often, but I'm not even sure we can say that anymore. I guess we'll find out. It does reference sexual maturity. Let me get a capital S there. Sexual maturity, and some places that it does actually provide a little bit of an actual service. Guard hairs. So when we're talking nose, okay, we're talking ear. There is a little bit of function there. I mean, your nose hairs, the purpose of them, although there's a lot of work to keep them trimmed, at least in some people, Although you can find people that nose hair, ears hair is not a concern of theirs. Got some uncles like that. It's like, yikes. But anyway, that's another topic for another day. Nose hair, ear hair, there is an aspect of trapping dust, trapping debris, bacteria, virus cells, and allowing the sebum oil to basically just trap them. That way a macrophage can come along and take care of them. So there is a little bit of function there, but not much as far as anywhere else. And then one more kind of made up function that somebody has made, nonverbal. And so we're talking eyebrows, but again, not a tremendous, as far as body function, not a tremendously important one. So that is function. And so as you can't see this, but I am turning the page to the last section, and this is the super short section as well. So we're within 5-10 minutes from being done if you are wanting to time this out here. So let me slide all this up, and I don't need that picture anymore. And so our last section, we'll bring this over here so it's away from everything. Glands. And this is just a listing of 5 types of glands. And that's my next line here. And just, we're going to list the names and then a short little detail about them, what their function might be. And then we'll be done. So here we go. Let's wrap up the last part here. Our first gland we want to talk about, American. And these are sweat glands. And these are sweat glands all over the body. So we're thinking, anywhere along the skin that produces sweat to help cool us. Cooling, these are the glands that we're talking about. And we can extend this out because we don't have anything over to the side here. We're talking 3 to 4 million, not 5, 4 million of these bad boys. So that's American sweat glands. The other type of sweat glands that we have seen a few times in our pictures when we were talking about hair, because these are, and let me go proper and fix that A there. Because these are the sweat glands associated with hair. So anywhere there's a hair area, so like in the beard or in our hair up here, these were the African hair sweat glands are going to be. And it also cools. It's a little bit thicker sweat. This is the sweat that gets in your eyes. That comes down, from your head area and gets in your eyes. That's the African sweat gland. Sweat there, a little bit thicker, and it also, these glands also deal with the pheromones. The pheromones associated with all the different categories that pheromones deal with, the scent glands and that kind of stuff. They come from these sweat glands. Okay, so our last 3, sebaceous. Sebaceous glands. Okay, so this is also associated with the hair. And we saw those. Let's close this out. Let's bring up, try not to grab onto a box here, but we saw these up here. And let me blow this up. Okay, that is this gland right there. Okay, so sebaceous gland, you can see that gland produces the oil for the hair, which we're going to type in now. Pull this back out. edit. Okay, the oil, and the oil is sebum. That's the kind of oil that is produced by the sebaceous glands. Okay, so that's 3 of the 5. Our next, ceremonious. So for ceremonious, we're thinking, oh, I know why that didn't look right, because that should not be a comma there. That should be a fancy slash, which is a strong teacher move. So ceremonious, now we're thinking ear. Okay, so if you think back to Shrek, okay, when he makes those candles out of that wax that comes out of the ear, that's ceremonious. Oh, I didn't put the word glands. That's ceremonious glands making that stuff. Okay, so we're talking earwax. Okay, which again, we tried to clean out and tried to control aspect to it, and we kind of had a big freeze there. So I wonder if that's what causes the timing to get off every once in a while. But anyway, we'll see how it looks in the video production there. But I talked for a little bit and nothing was moving, so hopefully I got it. But earwax, I'll say it again, earwax from the ceremonious glands. We do try to control it, keep it clean, but it does have a important function. It does trap dust and debris, and just like the guard hairs, it is designed to kind of bog down bacteria and virus cells so the macrophages can come along and clean those up. And our last gland, mammary glands. And of course, we're all familiar with these purposes, but this is the milk production during lactation. So during that time period of after offspring is born, we're talking humans here, but any kind of mammal, cow, dog, pig, whatever, that's the milk production during lactation to help provide nourishment for that new offspring. So there you go. That's your 5 glands. That is your look at the last section of integumentary system, and that's a lot. 3 videos. I think we're not 3 hours, but it's a lot of stuff there. So a lot of stuff to digest, and so look forward to in class talking about these, doing the labs and stuff, answering some questions, and just hanging out together. So hey, with that, let's wrap this up. And again, thank you. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys for doing this, and hope everything's going well for you. Hope you're well, your family's well, and everything is in good shape, health-wise, and mental-wise, and physical-wise. But with that, we'll say goodbye until next time. Oh, let me close this out. I don't want to end with a text box there. Now we will say goodbye.